blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Dzień dobry. This is Joanne Yanitsky, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the February 19th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I hope everyone had their fill of punchki earlier this week. It seemed like everywhere I looked, there was another ad for punchki. People were talking about punchki. So, the fillings are getting very creative. Personally, I am old school, blackberry, black raspberry, whatever, just jelly. Okay, let's jump in and there is, we'll start with the photograph. There is a photo by Peter Sloan, and it is what appears to be a school gymnasium. You can tell by the stage, and then you can tell by the hardwood floor and the basketball hoops to the sides and the scoreboard in the distance next to the stage. And it reads, Fat Thursday Punchki Day celebration was held February 12th, 2026 at St. Teresa's Parish Center, 35 Mineral Springs Road in Buffalo, New York. Hosted by the General Pulaski Association, the event featured free admission, polka music by Buffalo Touch, Polish food, and a basket raffle. Looks like there's a pretty good crowd here. From what I can see, band is setting up on the stage, and I think people are just waiting for the music to start. Okay. Retirement on the Horizon for Legislator Mills by Amber Healy. There is a photograph of Legislator Mills. Handsome gentleman. Owning and running a successful business for several decades is a noteworthy accomplishment. John Mills has done that as president and owner of J. Mills Distributing Company, a food distribution company he started with his wife Barbara in 1976. But Mills, whose company has donated more than 500,000 pounds of food to Feed More New York, Western New York, wanted to do more to serve his hometown of Orchard Park in Erie County. He first ran for public office in 2005 after already serving as a member of the Orchard Park Public Safety Committee, the town zoning board of appeals, and 6 four-year terms as Orchard Park Town Council member, holding various titles during that 24-year span. In 2005, Mills was elected to the Erie County Legislature, and it is that position that he will be retiring from at the end of the year, he announced last week. Quote, I've been involved in some capacity of government for 48 years, he says. I've enjoyed the politics and of it quite a bit. That's why I stayed involved. I learned a lot about government in general and infrastructures with the towns and villages I represent. It's been good. I really accomplished some things, and that's the reason I got involved. End quote. Throughout the years, he's also been proud to represent his Polish heritage by walking in the Pulaski Day Parade in Cheektowaga for many years, often accompanied by the late Loretta Swit, best known for her role on MASH in the 1970s, and a fixture of various parties in Buffalo over the decades. In 2012, Mills received the Unsung Hero Award from the General Pulaski Association for his work. Quote, I was involved in that some years ago. When Brian Rusk was involved, he would throw a lot of things my way. We would donate a lot of things to the Polish community, Mills says. He continues, there were 2 beautiful days when we walked last time. Growing up, it is with a lot of families. It's the mother who is the closest to her family, and growing up it was the same with us. I was joined at the hip with my grandparents, the Dombrovskis. We'd have kishka on a regular basis when I wanted it. I never got into pig's feet, though, he laughs. He continues, when I was young, maybe 8 or 9 years old, I stayed at my grandparents' place in Orchard Park, and my grandmother would take me to the Broadway market. We'd walk a mile to the bus stop in Orchard Park and take the bus. I remember that. Sure enough, years later, I'd end up having a bunch of customers that I serviced at the Broadway market. I have pretty deep roots in Polish culture. End quote. When asked about his proudest accomplishments in politics, Mills says he was able to secure $2 million in federal funding for infrastructure projects in Springville for the village's sewer plant, funds that were originally earmarked for work in Tennessee. Quote, when I first got into the legislature, the administration at the time wanted to take down the toboggan runs at Chestnut Ridge Park because they thought it was a liability. I screamed at them and I screamed to the media about it, and sure enough, they backed down. Those toboggan chutes were put up during the WP8 era of our country in the 1930s. There's only one pair like that in the country besides ours. I think that's in Michigan. End quote. In 2006, the county was concerned that the toboggan chutes were a liability and could open the government to lawsuits if anyone got injured, which Mills says was a short-sighted idea coming out of a red-green budget in which money was tight and difficult decisions were made. Quote, there's people who come from all over, Wyoming County, Chautauqua County. They drive from all over to use those toboggan chutes. They're historic. End quote. He's also proud of his efforts to reach across the aisle and work with members of the opposite party towards the good of the county and all its residents. Quote, that's the way you have to look at it, he says. That's what elected officials should do rather than fighting all the time with each other. They should be working together. That's what I was doing for years, and that's why I got a lot of things accomplished, end quote. With his long history in politics and governments, he has a perspective some of his younger colleagues might not appreciate yet when it comes to public spaces and assets like the toboggan chutes. Politicians are just caretakers of the people's assets. They don't look at it that way a lot of times. We're just caretakers, end quote. Now that he's retiring, his 3 adult children will take over bigger roles in the company, with his daughter becoming president and his sons working in sales roles. But Mills will remain involved. Quote, I gotta keep something to do. I'm down to 35 hours at the business from 70. That's just my energy level and what I like to do. I love working. I love the hunt, the opportunities. I'm slowing down a little bit. That's why I'm out of politics. I can't keep doing both of these things anymore. It's overwhelming. End quote. He's looking forward to taking a step away from all the town and village council meetings he's attended and to have more time with his family. Quote, I want people to understand I really felt it was an honor and a pleasure to serve as an elected official. I think it's important. I think it's also important you have to work together with your colleagues on board and places you've been elected. That's what the people really want to see their elected officials do. I think that's so important to get things accomplished, Mills said. Okay. Let's go to Polish news bites. Lublin and Rzeszów airports reopen after NATO air activity. On February 7, 2026, Poland's Civil Aviation Authority announced that Lublin and Rzeszów airports resumed normal commercial operations after a brief closure prompted by NATO-led military flights over southeastern Polish airspace. The temporary shutdown followed Russian missile strikes on Ukraine, which led NATO to activate air defense assets near the Polish-Ukrainian border. Flight tracking data from Flight Radar 24 confirmed the presence of NATO aircraft, prompting the Polish Air Navigation Services Agency to restrict civilian traffic as a precaution. Polish officials emphasized that the military activity was defensive and posed no direct threat to civilian flights. Both airports, crucial logistic hubs for NATO supply routes to Ukraine, opened on Saturday, restoring passenger services and cargo flows. Immunity for volunteers fighting for Ukraine. The Sejm passed a law on 13 February 2026 granting legal immunity to Polish citizens who voluntarily join Ukraine's armed forces against Russia. Under the new statute, volunteers will no longer face criminal prosecution for participating in foreign conflicts, provided they act in accordance with international humanitarian law. Pro-government lawmakers framed the measure as a, quote, solidarity gesture, end quote, recognizing the contributions of thousands of Poles already serving alongside Ukrainian troops. Human rights groups warned that the blanket exemption could complicate future accountability for alleged war crimes, urging the government to embed clear oversight mechanisms. And to wrap up Polish news bites, energy sector cybersecurity alert. Poland's Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT Polska, released an incident report on January 30th, 2026, highlighting a wave of attacks targeting operational technology and industrial control system networks in the country's energy sector. The report documents several intrusion attempts that leveraged ransomware-like payloads to gain footholds in power grid substations and gas pipeline monitoring stations. Key findings stress inadequate network segmentation, outdated firmware on PLC devices, and insufficient logging as primary vulnerabilities. CERT Polska urges utilities to adopt zero-trust architectures, enforce strict patch management cycles, and conduct regular red team exercises. The alert is part of a broader European push to harden critical infrastructure after a spate of similar incidents in neighboring states. Let's go to an editorial. Wałęsa's perspective at 82. In an era when so many titans of the Cold War have passed into history, Lech Wałęsa remains, at 82, the, quote, last man standing. His life's work altered the trajectory of Europe. When he vaulted the gates of the Lenin shipyard in Gdansk in August 1980 and led the birth of Solidarity, or Solidarność, he set in motion a chain of events that would shatter communist rule in Poland and help bring down the Soviet Empire. The trade union he led swelled to 10 million members, rendering authoritarianism unsustainable. His subsequent election as Poland's first democratically chosen president in decades symbolized not just a national rebirth, but a continental one. For that achievement, the West owes him a permanent debt of gratitude. Alongside figures such as Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II, Wałęsa demonstrated that moral clarity, allied with civic courage, could undo even the most entrenched tyranny. Last year, he went on tour to share his perspective on world events. This weekend, he was featured in a Wall Street Journal interview, Lech Wałęsa, the Cold War's Last Man Standing. In the interview, Wałęsa is most persuasive in his assessment of President Donald Trump. He acknowledges that he agrees with the president's goals, defending sovereignty, confronting adversaries, strengthening the West. But he warns that tone and method matter. Democracies, he insists, are not governed by fear or force, but by discussion and consent. Yet his reflections on communism, however, are strikingly ambivalent. Walesa suggests that there was a time when communism seemed plausible, even just before it went too far. It is true that communist ideology promised equality and security in societies scarred by exploitation. But history suggests the flaw was not excess alone. It was embedded in the system's concentration of power and disdain for political pluralism. The promise of justice cannot excuse the machinery of repression that followed. To treat communism as merely overextended risks softens the hard lesson of the 20th century. If the West is to withstand pressure from Russia and China, it will require not only strength, but character, leadership that reflects the democratic values it seeks to defend. Let's take our first break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Sister Marcella Marie Garris, former Villa Maria College president, has died. And that headline is below a photograph of Sister Marcella Marie. Sister Marcella Marie Garris, 86, a Felician sister for 63 years and former president of Villa Maria College, died at Mercy Hospital of Buffalo on February 12, 2026. Sister Marcella Marie was installed as the third president of Villa Maria College of Buffalo in 1978. Over the course of the next 40 years, Sister Marcella Marie, recognized as a generational visionary by her colleagues, worked faithfully and diligently to make Villa Maria College not only a premier institution, but a home to faculty and students alike. Her work was to fully realize the vision and mission of the college through her dedicated service and commitment. Dr. Matthew Giordano, current president of Villa Maria College, wrote on the college website, quote, Sister Marcella Marie Garris embodied the very heart of Villa Maria College. Her unwavering dedication to our students, her deep commitment to our mission, and her quiet but powerful leadership shaped this institution in ways that will be felt for generations. Sister Marcella believed deeply in the transformative power of education, and she lived that belief every day through her service, compassion, and faith. We are profoundly grateful for her countless contributions and will forever carry her legacy forward at Villa Maria. End quote. The former Marcella Garris was born on January 16, 1940 in Buffalo, New York, and was a member of St. Casimir Parish. She entered the province of the Felician Sisters on August 1st, 1962, and professed perpetual vows on August 3rd, 1969. After graduating from Bishop Colton High School in 1957, she earned a Bachelor of Science degree from D'Youville College, Buffalo, and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Detroit, Michigan. Sister Marcella Marie began her ministry as a Felician sister in 1963, teaching business studies at Villa Maria Academy, Buffalo, New York. She went on to teach at Bishop Colton High School and at Bishop Gibbons High School, North Tonawanda, New York. In 1968, she became the business administrator at Villa Maria College of Buffalo, a position she held for 10 years. During this time, she established herself as a knowledgeable, commanding, yet collaborative leader, well-versed in the financial work and functions of the college. Sister Marcella's personal qualities and experiences made her the perfect candidate to become the third president of Villa Maria College. During her tenure, Sister Marcella saw the college increase its enrollment, transition from a 2-year commuter college to a baccalaureate granting institution, undergo major interior renovations, and develop an international studies program for exchange students. She was also instrumental in the establishment of Collegiate Village Apartments, a housing project for students attending local colleges. Sister Marcella Marie was a member of many professional organizations, including the Professional Business Women's Association, Western New York Consortium for Higher Education, Commission on Independent Colleges and Universities, and the American Association for Higher Education. Her achievements and ability to guide, direct, and lead earned her well-deserved recognition, including the New York State 2009 Woman of Distinction Award, Governor's Award for Excellence in Education, Commission on Independent Colleges and Universities Higher Education Leadership Award, Bishop's Medal for Catholic Education, Am-Pol Eagle Citizen of the Year, and the Cheektowaga Chamber of Commerce Appreciation Award. Professional commitments did not prevent Sister Marcella Marie from contributing to the local community, serving on the boards of various organizations and institutions, acting as a notary public, and actively supporting Villa Maria College at numerous events. She was deeply involved in the parishes where she resided, serving as a lector, Eucharistic minister, and religious education coordinator and teacher. Her many talents and gifts were generously shared within her Felician community as she participated in general and provincial chapters, served as chairperson, member of various committees, and volunteered her services at many community events. Upon her retirement from the college in June 2018, Sister Marcella entered a new phase of ministry with characteristic grace, gratitude, and joy. After a period of spiritual and personal renewal, following the counsel of Blessed Mary Angela, to love is to serve, Sister Marcella served as local minister at Queen of Martyrs Convent while ministering as chauffeur for the sisters residing at Immaculate Heart of Mary Convent, transporting them to medical appointments. After moving to Immaculate Heart of Mary Convent in 2023, Sister Marcella managed the reception desk with warmth and professionalism. Sister Marcella's remarkable career was only surpassed by love for her Felician Franciscan vocation and dedication to her Felician community. She saw her vocation, serving God through service to others as a Felician sister, as the greatest gift received and source of blessing, gratitude, fulfillment, and happiness. Sister Marcella Maria is survived by her brother Robert, wife Karen Garris, and her sister Kathleen, late Robert Ives, and nephews and nieces. She was predeceased by her parents, Theodore and Clara née Ruchinsky. A massive Christian burial was held February 18th. Burial followed in St. Stanislaus Cemetery, Cheektowaga, New York. Memorials may be made to Felician Sisters, 600 Dote Street, Cheektowaga, New York, 14211. Rest in peace, Sister Marcella Marie Garris. PACB to explore Poland through the footsteps of Gołębiowski's father. Andy Gołębiowski, host of the Polish-American radio program on WEBR, recently organized a trip to Poland for listeners and friends. While there, he took the opportunity to uncover where his father was taken and held prisoner of war by the Germans during World War II. He will share his experience with photos of his journey at the Julia Boyer Reinstein Library, 1030 Lawson Road, Cheektowaga, New York, at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, February 25th, hosted by the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. Gołębiowski was born in Buffalo, of World War II survivors, and lives in a community with a great number of others with similar stories of struggle, hardship, and survival. Polish Saturday School, East Side Polish Neighborhood Schools, high school, and a college degree in photojournalism shaped him into a man with a strong conviction to become a spokesman and promoter for Poland and Polonia. Gołębiowski has said, quote, "Lives are more enriched when we are aware of our roots and the culture and history that come with it," end quote. His early media experience was with the legendary Stan Staś Jasiński, a prominent Polish-American radio personality in the 1950s. He became a videographer for WGRZ TV Channel 2. He developed documentaries for WNED. His involvement in the documentary, Houses of Worship, ensured that the Polish churches would be included. He earned a New York State Emmy Award for his work in photojournalism and received the 2008 Am-Pol Eagle Citizen of the Year in Culture. He was selected in 2011 as the Polish American of the Year by the Buffalo Bisons for his work in preserving Polonia tales. Gołębiowski was head of the parish council of Corpus Christi Church, past president of the Adam Mickiewicz Library and Dramatic Circle, and on the board of directors for the Polish American Congress, Western New York Division. He was involved with the Polish Community Center and served on the permanent chair of Polish culture at Canisius University. He spearheaded the Polish Legacy Project, which supports and promotes issues pertaining to Poland and World War II. He is currently founder and host of the weekly Polish-American radio program, aired live every Saturday at WEBR or anytime at polishprogram.com. Excuse me. The program recently added a Polish language component that attracts a worldwide audience. I'm going to give you the information once more if you have any interest in this lecture. Julia Boyer Reinstein Library, 1030 Lawson Road in Cheektowaga, New York, 6 p.m., Wednesday, February 25th. And your host is the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. So I'm sure Andy or Andrzej is going to have wonderful stories, certainly some sad stories of his father's incarceration in war camp, German war camp in Poland. Okay, county cultural funding application process kicks off. The Erie County Department of Environment and Planning, ECDEP, in conjunction with the Erie County Arts and Cultural Advisory Board, EACAB, announced the kickoff of the 2027 Arts and Cultural Funding Program with an online grant application opening February 18, 2026. The Erie County Cultural Funding Program provides annual general operating support grants to nonprofit 501c3 arts and cultural organizations within Erie County. Eligible organizations must apply each year for funding the following year. There are 3 application levels. Each applicant will choose their qualifying level and complete 1 application per organization. Level 1 applications may request up to $50,000. Level 2 applications may request more than $50,000 and up to $200,000. And Level 3 applications are for requests of over $200,000. The 2027 grant amount requested should not exceed a dollar amount higher than $20,000 of the organization's most recently completed fiscal year operating expenses. The website, erie.gov/cultural, has been updated for easier navigation as well as a new application guidebook. New applicants must register at www.erie.gov/cultural/account request well before the grant application deadline to access the grant portal. Only 1 account is allowed per organization. This account enables applicants to complete their application in multiple sessions before submission. Prior applicants can continue using their existing accounts to update their application for 2027 funding. Organizations meeting the stated eligibility requirements must submit their application online. Staff will review submitted applications. The website will allow applicants access to the application. Submission assistance is available on weekdays until 4 p.m. Level 1 applications are due by noon, midnight, 11:59 p.m., Wednesday, April 15th. Level 2 and Level 3 applications are due by 11:59 p.m., Wednesday, April 22nd. Staff and members will offer an educational briefing to include an overview of the program eligibility and requirements of grant applicants and creating an account. Organizations are strongly encouraged to attend the applicant briefing offered in person and through WebEx. Recordings of the briefing will be available on Erie County's YouTube page. The applicant briefing will be held at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, February 25th, Buffalo and Erie County Central Library. That's 1 Lafayette Square in Buffalo, New York. New applicants are highly encouraged to attend the briefing. Eligible nonprofit organizations must have at least 1 year as a 501c3 organization. All application attachments must be consistent with the organization's federal and state nonprofit reporting requirements. Funding is not guaranteed. All applications will be evaluated based on demonstrated performance measures, such as the organization's financial management, governance, and programming, with funding distributed according to available funds for the 2026 calendar year designated by the county executive. Late or incomplete applications will negatively affect an organization's application score. There's contact information if your organization or representatives require special accommodations. You can contact Colette Ballesteri, phone number 716-858-1572. You can also email colette.ballesteri@erie.gov. So, if you are a nonprofit, if you know of a nonprofit that's involved in the culturals, please make sure that they know about this. Maybe they're small and they're not able to keep track of upcoming grants. A lot of smaller culturals are volunteer driven, and again, may not have access to the latest information, may not be on a mailing list. That's just how it works. So, pass that information on. Let's take our next break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's move on to Polonia's calendar. Wednesday, February 25th, Exploring Poland and Tracing My Father's Footsteps. We've talked about this. Andy Gołębiowski, Polish Arts Club of Buffalo presentation at the Julia Boyer Reinstein Library, 1030 Lawson Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 6 p.m. Saturday, March 7th, Polish Pottery Workshop, Our Lady Help of Christians, Lower Hall, 4125 Union Road at Genesee Street, noon to 3 p.m. $50 includes one item plus paint, brushes, designs, patterns, and instructions from Michelle McLeod and Barbara Wawrowski, plus light refreshments. Phone number 716-893-7885 for information and registration. I'll do it again. 716-893-7885, Polish Pottery Workshop. Thursday, March 12th, Polish Census Records, Then and Now, by Tadeusz Pilat, Erie One Bosies, 355 Harlem Road, West Seneca, 7 to 9 p.m. It doesn't say it, but I'd bet my Social Security check that that's by the Western New York Genealogy Society. And trust me, I wouldn't let anybody have my Social Security check. Sunday, March 15th, corned beef and cabbage dinner and pot of gold raffle. Dinner includes corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, carrots, rye bread, dessert, and beverage. $18 a person. Children under 12, $9. It's from 11:30 to it either sells out or 3:30. St. Stanislaus, corner of Fillmore and Peckham. Eat in or take out. Tickets available from ushers or the rectory office. Thursday, March 19th, Professional Businesswomen of Polonia meeting. Guest speaker Kathy Goller of Teal Horizon Coaching. It's at Polish Falcons. Doesn't say which Polish Falcons. 716-725-7096 for reservations. I'll do it again. 716-725-7096 for reservations. Saturday, March 21st, Research Day at the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library with the Polish Genealogical Society of New York State, 1 to 5 p.m., the Grosvenor Room, Buffalo and Erie County Public Library, 1 Lafayette Square. Sunday, March 22nd, a commemoration of Revolutionary War heroes on America's 250th anniversary. Montante Cultural Center, Canisius University, 2001 Main Street in Buffalo, 2:30 in the afternoon, and it is free. This Week in the History of Buffalo's Polonia by Carl L. Buckeye. The following is a list of events that occurred during the week of February 19th to February 25th. February 19th, 1473, the birthday of Nicholas Copernicus, the noted Polish astronomer. In his memory, members of Buffalo's Polish community would form the Copernicus College Association in February of 1911 for the purpose of promoting college education within Polonia. February 19th, 1923, Buffalo schools conduct celebrations marking the 450th birthday of Nicholas Copernicus. Meanwhile, Dr. Francis E. Fronczak, Health Commissioner for Buffalo, is in Chicago to address an audience of 3,000 about the life of Copernicus. February 21st, 1935, birthday of Henry Novak, who represented Buffalo in the United States House of Representatives from 1975 to 1993. February 22nd, 1832. At a dinner commemorating the birthday of George Washington, participants honor Poland, whose people are described as a brave and gallant people. Millard Fillmore, the future president, attends this event. February 22nd, 1894. 1,500 Poles attend a mass meeting at Kosciuszko Hall at Broadway and Sweet Avenue for the purpose of expressing support for a new public school to serve Buffalo's growing Polish community. And wrapping it up, February 23rd, 1945. PFC William J. Grabiage, a native of Buffalo, dies in battle on the streets of Manila in the Philippines. For his distinguished service, Grabiage was awarded America's highest military distinction, the Congressional Medal of Honor. In 1948, he was buried with full military honors at St. Stanislaus Cemetery. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple of posts in the Lenten Dining Guide section. Polish Villa 2U, Donovan Post / Foxhole. Okay, 3210 Genesee Street, Cheektowaga, New York. Fish fries include fries, mac salad, potato salad, and coleslaw. Fridays, 4 to 8 p.m. Music Friday at the Foxhole, 7 to 10 p.m. You can dine in or take out. Support your veterans. This is a ways away, but Our Lady of Fatima Shrine's famous fish fry. Haddock fish, deep fried or baked. Includes French fries or baked potato, coleslaw, roll, and butter. Served every Friday from 11 in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening. It's at 1023 Swan Road, Youngstown, New York. We have Scoob's Village Grill, 50 Central Avenue in Lancaster, New York, serving fish fry all day from 11 in the morning until 9 p.m. Ash Wednesday, which has already happened, and every Friday all year. You've got an early bird special, $1.50 off between 3 and 5 p.m. It's a 16-ounce haddock fillet. You've got your choice of fish 5 ways: beer batter, broiled, Cajun, Italian baked, and lemon pepper. And the dinners are served with potato salad, macaroni salad, coleslaw, and tartar sauce, all homemade. And it comes with rye bread and a lemon wedge. Okay, that sounds like a classic fish fry. So I've got just a couple more here. We've got Jesse's Hidden Cafe and Bistro. Fridays from 11 in the morning to 6 in the evening. It's 2875 Union Road, Suite 5 and 6 in Cheektowaga, New York. It's inside the main door of the Apple Tree Business Park. If you know where the Apple Tree Business Park is, walk in the front door. You'll find it. They also have breaded shrimp dinner and other seafood choices available. And the Wayside Family Restaurant in South Buffalo. Fresh haddock is available all week long. 2301 South Park Avenue in Buffalo, New York. They are open from 7 in the morning to, I think that's a wrong time, until 9 p.m. daily. Visit our newly renovated dining area. Okay, so I have to find, here he is, my buddy Tom Tadapachki with Tom Talk. What if Hitler had been assassinated in Warsaw in 1939? There is a photograph of a very well-decorated soldier, and the caption reads, Tokarzewski Karaszewicz, a leader in the Polish resistance, planned to blow up Hitler. Before and during World War II, there were numerous attempts to assassinate German dictator Adolf Hitler, an astounding 42 plots, according to historians. Most of those unsuccessful efforts were undertaken by German soldiers. However, one of the attempts was undertaken by the Polish resistance very early in the war. There weren't many times Poles were close enough to Hitler to try to kill him. However, an opportunity did present itself shortly after Poland fell to the Germans in 1939. On October 5th, 1939, Hitler planned to come to the Polish capital of Warsaw to take part in a victory celebration, paying tribute to the Fuhrer and the Nazi regime. Of course, the Germans knew that they had to take extraordinary measures to protect Hitler while he was in occupied Poland. One of the steps they took was to seize numerous Polish hostages, including the mayor of Warsaw, Stefan Starzyński. If anything had happened to Hitler, it would have cost them their lives. On the morning of the parade, the entire city center was closed to traffic and Nazi banners were placed on buildings. The Germans patrolled the area intensely and snipers were positioned on the rooftops. Residents were forbidden to come outdoors in the area under penalty of death. Poles were not even allowed to open their windows. A vehicle with loudspeakers drove through the streets, warning that anyone violating those orders would be shot on sight. But General Michał Tokarzewski Tokarzewski Karaszewicz and other members of the Polish army discovered the parade route and formulated a plan to kill Hitler. The day before the parade, Polish combat engineers secretly buried 500 kilograms of TNT in anti-tank ditches. The plan was to detonate the TNT 250 kilograms on each side of the intersection as Hitler's motorcade passed by. The large size of the explosives was intended to ensure that no one in the motorcade, including Hitler, would survive. The explosion would have changed history in a very significant way, but the blast never happened. For some reason unknown to history, the parade route was changed, so the convoy never passed the intersection and the explosives were not detonated. Tokarzewski Karaszewicz continued to be active in the Polish resistance throughout the war and later joined exiled Polish forces, passing away in Morocco in 1964. Starzyński, who had been advised to leave Poland, was arrested in October 1939. It was determined years later that he was shot by the Gestapo in December of that year. There were other attempts on Hitler's life in subsequent years, the most famous of which was known as Operation Valkyrie or Valkyrie. The story was made into a 2008 movie starring Tom Cruise. The assassination was planned for Hitler's Eastern Front military headquarters, known as the Wolfslair, now located in northeastern Poland. Some German officers planted a briefcase with a bomb at a conference table during a meeting with Hitler. However, it was nudged to the far side of the massive oak support of the table. As a result, when it exploded, the German dictator was shielded from the blast. Hitler only suffered minor injuries while 4 others were killed. The conspirators, which included many members of Hitler's inner circle, apparently planned to stop the gross abuses by the end of the to stop the gross abuses and end the war. By that time, July 1944, the Allies had already landed in Normandy, and the Nazi war effort appeared to be doomed. Hitler's death in 1939 might have caused Germany to halt or at least diminish its war effort. However, it is also very possible that the Germans would have continued to fight on despite the loss of their charismatic leader. In fact, some might argue that having Hitler in command of the military was an overall negative for the German war effort. Hitler's aggressive, unconventional strategies like blitzkrieg did produce some successes early in the war. However, as a military leader, he tended to be inflexible, erratic, and often favored Nazi loyalists over skilled generals. He committed some big blunders, such as underestimating the strength and resolve of the U.S. and the Soviet Union. If the war had continued with military professionals in command rather than Hitler, Germany might have fared better. It is also possible that some of the unspeakable atrocities carried out under Hitler's direct orders, such as the killing of millions of civilians and non-combatants, might not have happened. Certainly, if Hitler had been killed in Warsaw in 1939, there would have been immediate and overwhelming retribution suffered by the city. We know that a brutal crackdown ensued after Operation Valkyrie, with thousands arrested and executed when that attempt failed. However, Hitler did order that the Polish capital suffer great devastation as the war was ending. Even as the German army was retreating, he ordered the city leveled to the ground. In January 1945, Warsaw was a ruined wasteland with only a few thousand survivors living in the rubble of a city that was 90% destroyed. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler finally met his end, taking his own life in a bunker in Berlin. Let's take our last break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Mickey's has plans for Dingus Day. The Dingus Day Committee of Adam Mickiewicz Library and Dramatic Circle in Buffalo announced its plans for Dingus Day 2026 stating, quote, "It's about opening our doors to welcome back our members, guests, and friends to Buffalo's historic Polonia district to join us at our yearly springtime celebration at Buffalo's oldest Polish cultural organization," end quote. Founded in 1895, the Library and Dramatic Circle at 612 Fillmore Avenue, Buffalo, New York, has been a pillar of Polish literature, theater, live music, language, and camaraderie among friends for 130 years. This year, Dingus Day is Monday, April 6th, and Parkside Polka Band will be playing from 2 to 5 p.m. Those Idiots will also return to Mickiewicz, where it all began over 20 years ago, the birth of the Rolka, or the rock polka. They will be taking the stage in the back hall at 6 p.m. after the Dingus Day Parade. Wristbands will be available for purchase at the bar beginning Friday, March 6th, and every Friday until April 3rd. Early bird admission is available for $10 online at www.givebutter, no space, givebutter.com/dingus 2026. You can pick them up in person on Thursday, April 2nd from 6 to 9 p.m. and on Friday, April 3rd from noon to 6 p.m. No refunds will be issued. Tickets will be $15 at the door and $2 with proof of admittance from another venue. Okay, that could mean get your Pussy Willow pass, and it lets you into just about everything. Okay. Holy Mother of the Rosary Cathedral, 6298 Broadway, Lancaster, New York, will be holding Stations of the Cross during Lent on Fridays at 7 p.m. The parish fish fries are held on the second Friday of the month from 4 to 6 p.m. or until sold out. Mass is celebrated on Saturdays at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. A coffee hour and Bible study are held following the Sunday Mass. The Lackawanna City School District has announced its March meetings. They include Thursday, March 12th. A work session will be held at the McKinley Administration Building, 245 South Shore Boulevard in Lackawanna, New York, at 6 p.m. Also on Thursday, March 12th, regular meetings will be held at the McKinley Administration Building immediately following the work session. That one's just down the street from me, and I've been promising myself to attend one of those. Let's see what happens in March. Okay, Kaczorowski Scholarship application available. The eligibility period to submit applications for the Derek Kaczorowski Memorial College Scholarship has begun. Students wishing to apply for this $1,500 scholarship must be of Polish lineage and be able to demonstrate their pride in their heritage. A minimum GPA of 3.0 is also required, along with several other parameters. This scholarship has the backing of the Polish American Congress, Western New York Division. The scholarship award will be presented at this year's Cheektowaga Polish American Arts Festival on Friday, July 24th, 2026. Applications will be accepted until May 31st. Students can obtain a full listing of the application requirements by emailing James Kaczorowski at JEJKAZ. I'll do it again, JEJKAZ at yahoo.com. You can also call 716-864-4642. 716-864-4642. Let's see here. Sigan, a new Chopin voice with deep roots. Michael Sigan joined the Chopin Singing Society the spring of 2025. He is 30 years old and realized that it was a natural fit for both his musical background and Polish heritage. Looking for a more meaningful way to connect intentionally with Buffalo's Polish community, he had childhood memories of such vibrant and active groups, but only more recently, after a conversation with a neighbor, revisited the idea. When attending his first Tuesday night choir practice, he says he was impressed and slightly overwhelmed by how many events and performances the Society participates in each year. It quickly became clear that this was a living and engaged community. Sigan's ancestry is 100% Polish. His mother's parents were born in Poland, and his father was born in Nowa Huta, near Kraków. Stories of his father's early life, along with the Polish language, traditions, and spirit, were central to his upbringing. Joining the Chopin Singing Society is not only a musical decision for him, but a meaningful expression of his cultural identity. Music has shaped his life from an early age. He began piano lessons with his father's guidance at 4 years old and began formal studies at the age of 6 with Mrs. Bohan in Olean, New York, where he was raised. When I was 6 years old, my older sister Margaret passed away tragically in an accident. Her piano teacher became my teacher. Since then, I've always tried to make my life count and give it my best. His early training culminated in his senior year of high school when he competed in the International Kosciuszko Piano Competition in New York City. For the competition, he memorized 18 pieces, totaling 89 pages of music, and performed for 3 prestigious judges, including one from Juilliard. Though he did not advance as far as he had hoped, the experience exposed him to the rigor of high-level competition. He earned his undergraduate degree from the Franciscan University of Steubenville, double majoring and completing a minor in sacred music with a concentration in organ. During that time, he won an organ competition sponsored by the Pittsburgh Guild of Organists, performing a work by Louis Vierne. The fall after graduation, he completed a long-term project, Fatima the Musical, a centennial performance, which can be viewed on YouTube. He independently composed and produced this work and performed it with his hometown friends and Morning Star Ministry. Composing and improvisation remain especially important to him, also having the opportunity to write original music for the dedication of the Basilica of St. Mary of the Angels in Olean, New York. While grounded in the discipline of classical repertoire, he values the freedom and expression in creating new music, drawing from the structure and depth of the classical and Catholic tradition. Professionally, Michael served for 3 years as Associate Director of Music at St. Gregory the Great in Williamsville. On March 22nd, he will perform 3 of Chopin's etudes in celebration of Chopin's birthday. The event, entitled A Commemoration of Revolutionary War Heroes on America's 250th anniversary, will take place at the Montante Cultural Center at 2:30 p.m. That's March 22nd. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the February 19th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle every Saturday at 3 p.m. Your reader has been Joanne Yanitsky. Thank you for listening. Do widzenia.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. At 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Southern Journal. And at 6 o'clock, we've got the Wall Street Journal Off Duty. Stay tuned for these readings and more. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.